Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's so nice to be back. I've been off for about a week. I had my own show, mixed reviews. COVID, I think, is making it hard for people to get out of the house and come and see art. In any case, today we're going to talk about making slabs. We're not going to be working on the wheel. I'm going to talk a little bit about hand building. I'm making some night lights, and so I'm working with a cone 6 porcelain called Frost. It is translucent when it's thin enough, so it's the perfect porcelain for making night lights or luminaries or something like that. It is difficult to work with, but not so difficult that you can't make a flat slab. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is how to make a really thin slab. Later on, a couple of videos down the road, I will make another video showing you how to make a little bit thicker slab, or a slab of a certain thickness. I'm not going to show you that today. Today we're really going to just concentrate on making a really, really thin slab. Also, as usual, please, if you're liking my videos and you're enjoying them and you're learning from them, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and anything else I need to keep going and making these videos. I really do enjoy sharing my craft with you, and I'd like to continue to do so. So let's get started. I'm going to show you some pictures of what I'm going to make, and then I'm going to show you how I make it. And in the course of doing that, we'll make a really, really thin slab for which we'll use to cut my, my little discs from. So let's get started. Okay, everybody, so I'm going to show you the little night lights that I made. I have one in my bathroom where I'm at right now, and it was my prototype for this project that we're going to look at today. So there you go. That's what we will be making today. This nice little night light. You can see the images through it. It's not, we're in the middle of the day right now, so this isn't as bright as it would normally be, but that's my night light. Okay, so I've cleared my surface, and I want to make sure that this is a plaster wedging table, and I want to make sure that it's nice and clean so I don't have any bumps and stuff on my slab. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of any dried up clay that's creating a bumpy surface on my wedging table, because we're going to make our slab directly here. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of porcelain and cut it right off the block. I'm working with a cone 6. It's called Frost Porcelain. It is translucent, so I'm going to go pretty thin with my slab here. And I am concerned that when I go ahead and make my slab that I'm going to be shaking the camera a little bit. I apologize for that ahead of time. So, unlike when we're working from the wheel, taking the clay directly from the brick is really helpful for creating a slab. So I'm going to make quite a few things today from one slab, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a nice even slab. So you can see this is a nice even piece. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to start by, if you can see, positioning myself here. So I have kind of, in my empty space, there's kind of a 30-degree angle. So my body is like this against the table at a 30-degree angle. And then I'm going to grab the clay piece that I just took off, and I'm going to hold it like with both hands, and I'm going to throw it across my body this way. If it falls over like that, that's fine. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, making sure that I have that 30-degree angle right here, or 180-degree angle, depending on how you're doing it. And you're going to keep doing that And notice I'm not slapping it. I'm bringing it across to me like this. So I'll do that again. Yep, and if it falls over like that, you're doing it correctly. And you're gonna wanna do this to all 4 sides. And you can see, now that one was not correct. You see it kind of slapped down. You want it to kind of slide over the surface like that. Again, on this side. And what this is doing is it's stretching out those molecules that make the clay stronger in a flat state. And notice I'm going to change sides as I keep doing this. Once I get it fairly thin, you see how it's kind of thinning out on itself. And I'm going to try to do this as evenly as possible, and you can see I have one side that's stretching more than the other. And so now it's getting to the point where it's going to be hard to throw without it falling apart. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move to put this on a sheet or any kind of material that's flat. A piece of canvas will work as well. Just need to find my sheets. So now I'm going to take my sheet, this lovely 70s sheet, and I'm going to pick up that clay. So notice I'm holding the clay right here on both sides, and I'm going to flip it over onto the sheet. You want to get rid of any wrinkles that might be happening. I'm going to just kind of move this just a bit. Make sure I don't have any wrinkles. And nice and flat. I'm going to take another piece and go over that piece, make sure there aren't any wrinkles. Again, this lovely 70s pattern in these. And I have 2 rolling pins. I have the big rolling pin and I have a kitchen rolling pin. So I'm going to start with the big rolling pin, and I'm going to go from the center out like I was doing pie dough. And you're going to want to stretch it as much as possible. And because I can't work all the way around my table, rather than, so I can't get around, I'm just going to go ahead and move my material. The clay comes along with it when I move it. I'm going to try to remember that clay has a memory. So at this point, if I'm picking up this slab and I'm moving it around a lot, I'm encouraging it to warp later on when it's hot in the kiln. So we want to eliminate that by moving the clay slab around on a piece of material. I see sometimes people use plastic. I don't think that's a good idea because it sticks to the clay. It makes it harder to deal with. It also doesn't get rid of any moisture. And if you watched my other videos, you know that the more moisture in the clay, the weaker the clay is. So the more you can work with the clay without adding moisture, the better off you are. So let's see how our slab's doing. It's doing pretty good. At this point, I still feel it's a little heavy here in the middle. And notice when I roll this slab out, I'm rolling on top of the pillowcase. Because if I roll directly on here, I run the risk of the clay sticking to my wood rolling pin. And what that'll do is it'll pull it up, and as I said, clay has a memory. It'll remember that happened, and it will curl up in the kiln. So I'm moving to my smaller because now I'm just going to refine and take out that center. So back to the center, coming out, get this as thin as possible. Okay, now I'm just going to go over this side. It feels pretty even, so I'm going to use a yellow rib, a yellow rib to just kind of go over the surface. Any air bubbles that are there or any wrinkles will be kind of pushed out of the clay by me taking care of this. And I'm working on this side now. We're going to have to work on both sides, so okay, flatten that out pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick this up again. So there's my clay. I'll fold that over. Make sure that I'm holding the clay right here with my fingers. Slap it over. And now we can work on this side. So again, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I don't have any wrinkles. And I'm going to go from the center and out again. Almost like pie dough. Oh, we're not making pies. Okay. So now I can go over this surface again. And now I'm ready to start building with my slab. Now, if I was building a 3D object, I would use a template. I would make my object first out of a piece of cardboard, make it three-dimensional, tape it together, and once I know it goes together well, then I would take it apart and use those pieces to cut out my slab. Today, I'm not going to do that because I want a really thin slab, because I'm going to make some translucent nightlights with this clay. So I want this to remain nice and flat. I don't want any curled up edges or anything else. So I'm not going to go ahead and move this by picking it up like this, because that would create kind of a hammock effect with the clay, which would make the clay weak. So before I try to move this, I need to find a board that's nice and flat that it'll go on. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide my slab onto this board. The board isn't quite getting it all, but most of it. So now I'm not moving that clay around, okay? I'm working with it directly in here. So that's how you make a good slab without a slab roller. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so let's talk about making shapes out of a flat slab. Because clay is not dough, you know, when you cut cookies like out of dough, you use the flour as a resist so the cookies won't stick to the cookie cutter. In ceramics, we have the same problem. The clay will stick. So rather than using flour, I cut through using either a piece of plastic or a piece of material. So I'm going to show you that here. I'm going to work on the edge right over here. And I'm using just an old tin that I had laying around. And I'm going to go ahead and press that into my clay. So when I take that off, you'll notice that it didn't press through. Oh, I really want to press into that. And now what I'm going to do is remove the clay around my circle. I'm gonna let my circle sit there, and I'll come back and trim. Might be, this one's a little larger. It's just a little plastic, I think this was the frosting container in one of those Grand's ice cream things. So again, I'm pressing down, turning it. See how I have the shape there that I can go ahead and cut out. And also, I'm going to remove the clay around that and not that. So, as you can see, it's rather thin. And the edges are a little rough. We're not going to worry about that because once this is leather hard, I can get rid of those rough edges without distorting my shape. So let's try, this one didn't work as well as the plastic did. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the plastic. Cleaned all my little discs. They're pretty thin, and I'm not going to worry about these rough edges because I can clean those up better when it's past leather hard. So what I am going to do is start decorating these. So I'm just going to set some of these aside right now, and I'm going to show you a little something that this is translucent porcelain. So I have this stencil that I cut out on my Cricut, and I'm just going to kind of place it on this little disc. Kind of cut off the parts that I don't need. I try to cut them off at the design so I can use the rest of it on another piece. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to do what we call a little water etching. I'm going to get a little fold in there. So water etching is retractive. So in other words, I'm going to go ahead and wet my stencil, and I'm going to make sure that it's stuck on here, and I want a nice composition. So once I have it, okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is stuck on here pretty good. And you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to start wiping away clay from this surface. It's going to stay. Put some light on the subject. Is that better? Yeah, now we can see what's happening. So I have this little piece of paper on here. I don't know if you can see real well. So now I'm going to start, that's stuck on there, and I'm just going to start wiping this. So I'm taking away clay. We don't need that little piece. Where my image is not. I'm going to be careful that you don't take away your stencil, just the image around it. And I should have put this on a sheet or something, because now that it's wet, it's kind of hard to move, but we're not going to worry about that. So now I have that down. I'm going to use a little bit of slip to go over that to do an image transfer on top of this. So this slip recipe I will give to you. This is, I call it the magic slip. And what it does is it helps me transfer images. It's really great for that. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to just lightly paint the surface with this slip. Now I'm going to take one of my image transfers. We have this really great, kind of crusty. Just gonna wet that, set it down. There's a little red rib. Should do another video on ribs, eh? This might be a little too wet. We'll see what happens. So let's look at a little peel. And it transferred. So now let's take our stencil and remove it. Got a little wet, so a little tiny something to pick it up. I don't want to put any indents in this. And this paper, if it sticks on here, it's okay. It's going to burn out in the kiln. I just want to be able to show you what just happened here. So now, when this dries, you can see my design is still there. So let's try another one. So in this particular case, I'm going to go opposite. So let's wipe my surface down. So in this particular case, I don't know if you can see the pattern on there. So I'm gonna take a square of this. Paint my slip directly on there. And I'm gonna go ahead, place it on top. Again, that might be a little bit too much water. See? Yep, my image has transferred very nicely, as you can see. Now I'm going to put this over it. Okay, and now then just so you can see how much I pulled away. Do another one. And I gotta clean my surface. In this particular one, I'm going to get some of these commercial guys. So that's all this is a commercial decal. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that this is nice and flat. And I'm going to go ahead and cut real close to them because I'm going to put another kind of pattern above them. And although I don't want it on top of them, I want the pattern to come through as close as possible. Okay, so see how I cut that out? I'll go ahead and put him on here. And we're gonna go ahead and just kind of do him that way because this is a white transfer. And we're going to just see. Yeah. So we're going to cut out and we'll design from this. Now, this is just a commercial transfer. I think I bought this one from Elaine's Transfers. If you're on Instagram, she's all over Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead, see that? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that in here as well. Now this is, this little piece right here is white. So it's going to be hard to show up. Oops, I did not need to put yellow in there. Did add a little water though. You can barely see it, but it is there, which is okay at this point. Just get rid of some of this right now. We can fix those edges in the leather hard stage. Now I'm going to go ahead Pull him off. Okay, well, these little medallions that I cut out yesterday have been sitting here overnight and they've dried. As you can see, here's one that is dried up. So now I'm going to show you how to clean them up and get them ready to be fired. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to clean these up using a little piece of drywall screen. And this is used to sand drywall when they do the drywall seams. You can get this at any hardware store. And it's really a handy thing to have in the studio for working with greenware. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut a little piece off to show you what I do. So this edge is just a little bit rough, and so I'm just going to use the drywall screen to clean up that edge very gently. Also, if your little disc or whatever it is you're working on was pushed out of the round while you were working, then this is a good way to fix that up. So I'm also going to put a little angle with this on here. So notice I'm just kind of sanding the edge, not too much. You want to be careful that you don't make too much dust. If you do and you're sensitive, I would suggest wearing a mask. So I'm going to just go over the back too, because this is translucent porcelain. So whatever you see on the, if there's a light coming from behind it, it's going to show through any flaws on the back. So I'm going to try to get rid of any flaws that I have there by just doing a light sanding of the back surface. Because again, I think I mentioned that these were going to be, will be translucent once fired. And I'm making these for for night lights. So you can see that I cleaned up that edge nice. And I'm gonna go ahead and stack that one over there and do another one. This one is, the edge is really kind of roughed up, and you can see how nicely this screen works for getting rid of those edges. Just kind of one little pass over, and I have a nice soft edge. I am creating dust, and this dust is not necessarily good for you, so if you're sensitive, I would wear a mask while doing this, because silica dust is bad for your lungs. As I blow away and make more dust. Don't do as I do, do as I say, right? Is that how that goes? So you can see how I clean that up with just that little bit of drywall screen. See how it's a little bit rough right there? So just doing this real smoothly, quickly, cleaned it up. Again, I'm going to go over the back, clean that up good. And that guy's ready to be fired. So again, see, look at the rough edges. Now if I just go over like this, those rough edges just suddenly disappear. I have a nice disc that's completely round. So that's how I'm going to be finishing these up.